Sitting just very close to Alara here is Mr. Akin Oloyede, who is the property developer. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
And then just next to him is Mr. Afolabi Imokwede, who is CEO, MCS Consulting and a development consultant.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right. Let's start with you, Architect Ezekiel Nyetok.
Yes, sir.
You're close to government. You work with the ministerial team on housing delivery. You're close to the minister, and I'm expecting that very soon, in the coming days or weeks, we will have the Honorable Minister, Mr. Amapepo, here in our studio to give us her views.
She'll feel privileged if you can extend an invitation.
No, we have, and we're talking about it. She's promised that she will come.
I trust she will. I know she will.
But before we get the minister, you have a pulse. So you have a finger on the pulse of what the minister is doing and that ministry is doing. Where are we in terms of providing affordable homes that matches what the government initiative has been in recent time, especially with regards a million
homes on a yearly basis.
A million homes on a yearly basis. Are we scratching the surface at all?
I'll tell you this. The first is that being the head of an advocacy group and being close, in quotes, to government can be a dicey affair because I cannot afford the luxury of being too nice to government, and at the same time wisdom demands that you know how to get what you want to get. So those two put together, I think that this is one of the nicest times for me. I'm a very lucky person because we do have, for now, a government that shows a very good level of commitment. I'll tell you 1, 2, 3 things, but I shouldn't pat them too much on the back so that I can also punch them to move better, because sometimes it's like, oh, we've done it all, they haven't, a lot to be done. The first is that for the first time, I've said it before, after almost over 20 years, we do have a policy. And people say, what's it about policy? Policy is the working document, the roadmap of a government. We do have that. So the second title you gave me, I think, should effectively come to an end, because that committee has done its work and brought out the policy. The policy has been accepted by the Federal Executive Council. So effectively, I think I should even ask the minister, I think that committee should be dissolved, because you know, they'll call us, give us a pat on the back, and yes. Okay, that's the second one. The first one you told me as the vice chairman. Yes.
National Housing and Urban Development Policies.
Yeah, where I was
so
the vice
the policies have been reviewed and delivered.
And accepted by the Federal Executive Council.
Now, has it been gazetted, or it doesn't need
to be? I believe that he would have been by now, because like I said, I'm not government. I just happen to be near where they are. Okay,
so in the corridors of power.
I'll call it, I like to be in the sitting room of power. This corridor, I need to enter inside the sitting room. Okay, on a serious note, that is one. The second thing is the interministerial task team on housing delivery between Ministry of Finance, where the Honorable Minister of Finance under the CME is a co-chairman with the Minister of Housing. Now, that has never ever happened. They set up a joint team for housing delivery specifically. Okay, I happen to be a member of that too. So that has never happened. It shows a commitment and a willingness of, you know, no matter what you do as the Minister of Housing, if the money is not there, you can't go far. So when you're working with the Minister of Finance, I think that's a very good thing. And then the third thing is the presidential retreat on housing. Mr. President had to sit down from 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m., only had about 30 minutes break. He sat down through and said, look, I want to hear what I can do about housing from you that call yourself experts. And I happen to have headed one of the 4 committees on the low-income housing. That's where I headed. And when we were through, he said, Nyaitok, I want what can be done in the next 6 months, 1 year. I don't want to hear 10 years. You know, that will come, but tell me the short term, the medium term, before the long term. Let me have that. And we've been able to put something together, work directly with the Minister of Finance, and I believe that in the next couple of days or weeks at most, that document should be with Mr. President. Now, these things give me hope that...
Just sorry to cut you short there, sorry to interject.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to ask our other guest question, in terms of where we are with 100 million, I'm sorry, I keep saying 100 million.
1 million.
1 million homes. I think it would be great for us to have 100 million homes in Nigeria. But in terms of 1 million homes, where are we? Are we scratching the surface? That's
I'll
one really
tell you.
important
I'll
thing
tell
for
you.
us.
I'll tell you again. The very first thing is that let me just take you back a little bit to the days of GSM, where we had so much problems. All you need is unlock one policy, one policy. The days of NITEL. All government needs to do is unlock one policy, and instead of government spending money, government starts to make money. So what the minister is doing now is networking strategic development partners. That's why she just finished a conference with one of the major developers. So what they are doing now is networking the development partners, looking at all the delivery chains, and being able to have a basis of, igniting all the sectors. Because the 1 million is not government building. 1 million is all the local governments building, all the state governments building, what the federal government is building, all the private developers building, the aggregation of all the aspects of the building delivery in the country within a year. Government says if we're to meet our shortfall, we cannot go below a target of 1 million per year. So government is coming up with networking with every possible strategic partner. Where we are right now is that a good number of the strategic partners have been networked. For instance, this developer is aiming at 500,000, in 4 years, which is about 120,000 per annum. Now that is his bag. With that, government has gotten 10% of that. The government is giving all this. And government itself is also involved in certain pilots. For instance, Channels was gracious enough to cover the groundbreaking of a certain pilot in Abuja. People came and covered it. The Minister Housing, the Minister of State, FCT. What delayed that, which should have been very far in construction now, was that the FCT needed to re-ascertain the ownership of the land, which sounds funny. But that's delayed. But the Honourable Minister of the FCT has promised that within the next couple of days, that ownership would have been ascertained, and then the pilot will take off.
Okay, thank you.
Let me go to Mr. Oloyede. You're a property developer.
Yes.
This plan that government is talking about of 1 million houses all over the country in a year, how does the Land Use Act affect this particular ambition? Because I've heard it said that the Land Use Act is one of the major obstacles in the way of people building houses in Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much.
He says that government is not going to build 1 million houses.
Of course.
People like you, people like me, build my own house. You are building to sell. So how does the Land Use Act affect all this?
Yes, before you can talk of having a building standing, you probably should have a land that the building will stand on. If there is no land, you cannot have a building. That is exactly what it is. And one of the problems that the developers could face providing all these houses is acquiring the land. That is one of the major challenges that the developers face. And one of the problems that the government has succeeded in creating is the promulgation of Land Use Act, in which some particular places you cannot go there for a particular activities. Like for instance, some places have been earmarked for agriculture, which means that if you are going for a development, probably it was earmarked how many years ago for agriculture, and as we are talking now, the development has moved into the place. It is obvious that agriculture can no longer be practiced in such an area, and that means if you have to go to that area as a developer to practice your trade, it means that you have to look for a change of use for that particular location. And the change of use, if you have to start it now, in another 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Does it take that long to get change of use allowed for any kind of land?
Yes. When you acquire a land, There are two ways in which you can acquire a land. You can either acquire from the government or directly from the private owners, the